it's very intimate relationship. A lot of things are changing constantly. I don't want them to feel uncomfortable with them changing things. On the contrary, I want them to move.
Okay, Rona Segev, thank you so much for being on my show, 20-Minute Leaders. How are you?
Good. Thank you for inviting me. Hi.
I am so honored to have you here. We've been trying to do this for a while, and I'm so happy that you feel better and that we're finally getting to do this because you're one of the leading investors in Israel, founding partner at TLV Partners, one of the leading investor funds in Israel, but you're also a general partner at Pitango with countless of successful investments over the past years, both in the Israeli tech industry and outside of it. Rona, who are you? So give me a little bit of background as to who you are and how do you get to become a leading investor?
Well, uh, who am I? Uh, I,
It's just
I
the
can
first
tell you.
question.
Uh, well, I can tell you about how I started my career, which is kind of like weird. I started by learning psychology and philosophy in the Hebrew University, nothing to do with high tech. When I was 24, I had this crazy idea to do something in computers. It was 95. We didn't have VCs in Israel back then, and I didn't know the world startup. So everything was really, really new. But I found someone who was crazy enough to give me 200K, and we started. And eventually, what we did was we were a company that was developing shoot 'em up games, like really hardcore gaming kind of company. Um, we developed 3 games. One of them even became kind of a hit, not a big hit.
Okay.
There is even a retro about it. You can look up on the internet if you want to embarrass me. It's called Virus. Uh, and then I sold the company when I was 27.
Wow.
I'm then pregnant with my first set of twins, so I have 2 sets of twins.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Two
and the
sets
main
two
reason,
sets of twins. Wow.
yeah, and the main reason I joined the VC back then was because I thought to myself, well, you're now a young mom for at least 2-3 years. It's probably not very wise to be an entrepreneur again. Let's do something, easier. And this is why I joined the VC community. I joined Evergreen back then,
Incredible.
and Pitango.
So take me back because it sounds like there's a little bit of discrepancy between where you are at 24 and what you've studied to going into the gaming industry. What was the trigger there? Why gaming?
We started with something which was the initial concept was taking Lego and putting it on computers. But at that time, there was something which was called edutainment. And we found ourselves inside this segment, which was a horrible segment, full of kind of multimedia, CDs. And I just didn't like it. I thought to myself, we don't want to be there. Uh, and then we said, okay, let's take this robot that we're building with those Lego and let's go and fight. And we just basically kind of copied Doom and started to do games which are very similar to Doom. And things, kind of followed each other,
Wonderful.
and yeah, and very quickly we became a kind of a pure gaming company.
And that is until you're 27, where you sell the company, you become a VC, and you start to invest in other companies. Talk to me a little bit about this transition going from entrepreneur to an investor, and what are some of the sort of thought processes that take you throughout this journey?
So it was a very humbling experience, actually, because I was an entrepreneur in the gaming industry, and when I joined Evergreen, we were dividing fields among us, and no one wanted enterprise software and security. It's funny, but back then, we're talking about 99, 2000, it wasn't considered to be a very good area to invest in. So, and I was the most junior, the new junior female partner, so they gave me, they handed me this segment to invest in. And I started to invest in enterprise software. I didn't know anything. So, and really, sometimes I apologize for entrepreneurs I met back then because I was sitting there and, they were talking about all kind of like weird stuff. which now are so natural to me. But back then, I just really, I didn't understand a word. I remember the first 3 months I was going back home to my husband every night and crying, saying I will never understand what they're talking about. But
Wow.
but I was just asking a lot. I just started asking. I was asking questions constantly. And this is one thing that I've learned since. Never to be ashamed that you don't know something. You can learn, okay? Just tell the person, I'm not familiar. Can you please kind of tell me more about it? And so the first year and a half, 2 years, I was basically listening, okay, and learning and going, and became, close friends with different entrepreneurs and different people in the industry. And I was just going and asking for explanations.
Wow.
And then I started to invest. And I was lucky, I must say, yeah, because I think when I started to invest in enterprise software and security, this was exactly the time, it was like 2002, that those areas became hot areas in Israel. And
Right.
most of the exits kind of became in enterprise software and security. And here I was, in the perfect time, in the perfect industry, just starting my
Right.
career. And very quickly, I started to have my exits, and the rest is history. And
Right.
the
No, I think
beginning
it's
was
interesting because they say a lot that to be a successful entrepreneur you have to, like, timing is one of the most critical aspects. It's not just about your team and about your execution. It's about whether the market is ripe for your execution to go into that market. And it sounds like that's a very similar experience to what you had as an investor. You're coming in, it's 2002, the cybersecurity space and enterprise space is booming in Israel, and you get to be there just as you've built the confidence, right, to start making these investments. And so one of the things that we chatted previously just a little bit about, and I'd love to elaborate here, is this whole notion of what it takes to succeed in the field that you're in. While I'm sure that a lot of times it may be cutthroat and it's very competitive, I read in a few places your take on the type of personality that it can be as you go about your journey. So talk to me a little bit about that.
I think one of the things that I didn't like about my career and I didn't like about the industry, and I'm not talking specifically about Israel, though we see it a lot in Israel, but I'm working a lot with VCs in the US, and I see it also in the US. And is a culture which is very, very aggressive, and I call it very kind of focused on short-term optimization. And the reason I'm calling it short-term optimization is because sometimes I feel that whenever two people are in the room kind of arguing about something, someone has to win, no matter what are the consequences, and doesn't matter even if it's kind of like how much you get for your lunch every day, or covering your travel costs, or stuff like that, which are
Right.
totally insignificant to the company and can really damage the company if the employee feel that they're not getting enough. But still, just because of the dynamics of kind of power in the room, a lot of many times there it's very hurtful at the end of the day to the company. I felt it also in the relationship between VCs and entrepreneurs. If you think about it, kind of like really, like if you take all the noise and just focus on the essence of our job, the only way that we can be successful is if our companies and our entrepreneurs will be successful. And
Right.
really is everything about VC investments. So if you start playing around with your entrepreneurs, firing them, kind of the chances of your companies to be successful are just reduced dramatically. So basically you are investing in people, and you're really the aim of this investment and what will make me successful is that if my entrepreneurs will be successful, and everything is built around that. And so I didn't understand why people are fighting with their entrepreneurs so much, why they're trying kind of to squeeze them out of things, why they're not creating this alliance of interest, and
Right.
working together. This was something that really bothered me for many, many years, and this was one of the drivers of starting TLV Partners, to prove to myself, first of all, that you can be very successful and not work, and work differently. Sometimes I think that people are seeing too many American movies, and we are too much influenced by TV. That like the successful figures are always kind of like really vicious and aggressive and totally concentrated on their needs, uh, and we grow up thinking that this is the only way to be successful. Okay. And I actually, because I was, I grew up in Jerusalem, I just truly believe that it's not true. That actually working with people in collaboration and creating a win-win environment will actually
Right.
create a situation where people want to work with you again and again. They recommend their friends, and it's just so much. It's just fun working like that. Everyone enjoys working together instead of suffering and kind of like being in conflict, constant conflict.
100%. So the forming of TLV Partners today, every entrepreneur in Israel and many abroad know of TLV Partners. But talk to me the early days. So going back to just starting out. Previously, you were at Pitango, another wonderful investment firm in Israel. And what? So I understand the trigger to form TLV Partners. It's your own. There's a different mentality. You're defining the culture. So a lot of entrepreneurs that I talk to, they're talking about how culture was one of the things that they set out to right concentrate on from day one. You're saying also it's the same thing in VC. I want my partners and myself to have a certain culture with our founders. What are some of the greatest challenges and maybe joyous events of starting TLV Partners and throughout this journey?
So the first thing was just going out and pitching this message that I just told you to LPs, to our investors.
Right.
And I was really scared. I thought that they're looking to see people, like with knives, kind of like walking around, like blood kind of like dripping from their mouth. And I was afraid that they would look at me and say, she's weak, okay, or she's too nice, or it won't work.
Right.
Turned out, but we were very true to our message, because really we actually really believed, and this is something that we wanted to do, and it was very important to us that our LPs will understand what is the culture that we're trying to build. It turned out that just like 2 or 3 years before, many of the LPs started to realize that VCs that are actually following this type of culture are more successful, or are as successful as very kind of tough and cruel VCs, because the entrepreneurs like them, because they recommend others to come and get their money, because overall the experience working with them is more pleasant, so entrepreneurs are more focused on building the company and not fighting with the VCs. So
right.
Actually, it was received very well, this message, which was a big surprise, a very pleasant surprise to both Eitan and me. And we raised our first fund very quickly. It took us a few months to raise $110 million. For Israel, this is amazing. At that time, This was 2015. VCs were raising funds for like 3 years. So it took them like 3 years to raise a fund. So, and we raised like from really, really top tier in the US. So it was, I remember when we did the closing, I was so happy. I couldn't believe that.
It's like an entrepreneur raising a fund.
It's totally, right? We have our own investors. We're going out there kind of like asking for money. If someone is saying no, many times it's just because they don't like us. Right. It's very similar, actually. Yeah.
What is how is your relationship with the founders that you invest in? I know quite a few of them, and so I know that it's a wonderful relationship, but I'd like to know a little bit about your side of it. So as a VC, you get to meet with your entrepreneurs once in a while. You get to help them on their journey. You're in the trenches with them, obviously, in a lot of the cases. What are some of the key points in time that you're valuable for the entrepreneurs that work with you?
So first of all, it's really important to say that it's very different with each entrepreneur, because they are different people. So like, it's just like with everyone, like you have one personality and another personality, and there is kind of a natural connection. Sometimes it goes one way, sometimes it's very intimate, sometimes it's just very friendly. It really depends. Some of them are calling me like 20 times a day. Some of them are calling me once a month. And right. I book an hour for each entrepreneur every week, and they know they can cancel it whenever they want. I don't care. It's for them. It's not for me. Okay, I get a free hour. It's fine.
Right.
So this is something which is really important, because and those relationships are also changing with time. So as we get to know each other better, they're becoming more intimate and kind of like and different. And this is something which for me it's important, because those are real relationships. It's not something that you just turn on and off. It's kind of like real friendships, and they're there forever. One of the things that they know is that I really do care, and not just about the company, but also about them personally. I do believe that people and companies are interconnected. And I think that happy entrepreneurs are better entrepreneurs, and I really like the entrepreneurs I invest in. I insist on investing in people that I like, I really personally like. So we're going to have fun working together.
Wow. But how do you go about the due diligence process then? How do you find that connection? Because even if you do get to meet them a few times, I imagine that the scenario, and through the limited experience that I now have with a venture fund that I work with, you get to build some sort of repertoire and relationship with the founders, but it's still in the context of 3 or 4 meetings. It's not like going camping with them and seeing them in necessarily in their true 100% colors, right? So it sounds like there's a little bit of a challenge there to really find the personal fit, or maybe I'm wrong.
No, it is. Listen, I invest mainly in seed companies, and I really like new markets. Okay, so markets that do not exist yet.
Mm-hmm.
This is a real problem in investment. Think about it. So first of all, I invest in people, and I love first-time entrepreneurs. So I think 70% of my investors are first-timers. So I invest in
Wow.
people that have no track record. Okay, so I can check their track record in markets that do not exist. So there is not a lot of point talking to customers. A lot of time they don't know what I'm talking about even.
So most of the
In
time goes to working with the entrepreneur.
So it's a weird. So really, honestly, my due diligence is very intuitive, and it's a lot about how I feel about the people, and if I think that they're really bright, very open, um, very transparent, and we can work together. And I call it going together to an adventure because I know that everything is going to
Right.
change. The only thing that will not change is the group that is working together. Uh, this is why I also like to invest alone at the seed stage because it's very intimate relationship. A lot of things are changing constantly. I don't want them to feel uncomfortable with them changing things. On the contrary, I want them to move. Um, and I want them to kind of brainstorm with me, but tell me that I'm wrong or I'm stupid and feel comfortable saying that and insist on doing their own way because they're the one who are going to be blamed eventually if it's not going the right way. So they have to take the decisions. There is a circle of kind of responsibility and authority that has to be closed together. And so it's really important that they'll take the decision. So they need to feel very comfortable with me and not think that I'm
Right.
kind of like I'm telling them what to do. So it's a combination. I learn a lot about people when I'm doing the negotiation on the term sheet with them. The way I'm doing negotiations is actually very funny. I come with the cap table and we play with it together, and I find a very fair deal to everyone. And with most
Wait, you
entrepreneurs, it
you
takes
come
like
with a what? What did you say?
we have an interactive cap table, so we just come and we just play with the
Oh,
numbers. And we
okay,
find the
gotcha.
deal. It's kind of like it takes between 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, it really depends how long because it's really
Really?
easy. Yeah, because I know that I don't want to dilute them too much, and they need a certain amount of money, and we need some ease off. So it's actually everything about VC entrepreneurs relationship is actually really, really simple. Uh, and then you see some entrepreneurs are just so happy to see this approach, and like in 5 minutes we close the deal and we move on. And some entrepreneurs will try to optimize, and those entrepreneurs are usually shy away because my kind of attitude, you can take advantage of me, okay? So I kind of take care. I work with people that enjoy this kind of attitude, kind of like giving, and they give back, and we just enjoy working together. Uh, so it's from time to time I make mistakes, but it's very rare actually. I work with a really great group of people, and they
Rona,
enjoy working
that's
with me.
just inspiring. I can imagine in my head the situation. What one set of the regular VC experience that I think every young entrepreneur imagines is sitting, coming with suits, negotiating over a table, sending emails, and over weeks trying to decide on those 2 percentage points here and there. Whereas you come, you meet at a coffee shop, do an interactive cap table, and give a hug and continue. Well, hug before Corona times, of course, and continue with the day. Rona, I can't believe 20 minutes are almost over, but I have two important questions before we leave. The first one is to me, something that a young entrepreneur like myself or like a lot of my friends, either from 8200 or Stanford, what can we take with us from this personal insight that you've had of being sort of a mensch and being a good person going throughout our career? What is something that we can keep in mind to try to do that to with that aim?
So first of all, believe, really, really believe in yourself and believe that it's okay to be fair and to be mensch and to be good, and it's not like you're weak. Sometimes, like people around us will consider it weakness. It's not. It's actually being strong. And second,
Right.
pick the right people around you. Okay. You cannot be fair if you have people that are over-optimizing, that are manipulative around you. Pick the right people around you, people that actually enjoy this kind of culture, and then everyone will have so much fun working together. I
Amazing.
promise.
Amazing. Rona, last one, 3 words that you would use to describe yourself.
There is this guy that I really like in the Valley that looked at me like a year ago and told me, "You're such a strange bird." So this is your.
I love it. I love it. Rona, toda rabba. Thank you very, very much. This was inspiring. Just love getting to know you better, and I look forward to coming one day with my own idea and potentially collaborating together. This is it's just wonderful what you're doing there. Thank you.